So as we get started, I want to remind you that we want to hear from you. I'm a member of the MRC committee that plans this conference. We do really appreciate your feedback. So look in your email for an evaluation to come following this conference. We really do read them, and we do use them to plan our next conference. We're always looking for ideas for speakers, subject matters that you would find of interest to have at the sessions, networking opportunities, anything you can think of, we would love to hear from you. So at this time, we do have a great panel of great people who are doing this work right at the very front line. And I would like to introduce Natalie Jacob. She is the Executive Director of Green Living Science and also the Vice Chair of our MRC board. Natalie is very creative and a very excellent speaker. She is just very much a motivator for me to do some really great things around education and outreach, which Iris also does. So she's been a real good partner too. We've had some opportunities to work together. Natalie's going to take care of our final session here with our panelists and moderate this It's Not Just Garbage Duty.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our final session of the 44th Annual Michigan Recycling Coalition Conference. I'm Natalie Jacob, as Sarah just mentioned, the Vice Chair of the MRC Board, and I'll be moderating this session. I honestly can't think of a better way to close out this conference than with the people sitting beside me today. So often in our industry, we spend time talking about systems, policies, diversion rates, contamination, infrastructure, but at the center of it all are the people making thousands of decisions every single day that determine whether materials are actually recycled, recovered, contaminated, collected, or landfilled. None of this work happens without our frontline workers. The drivers, the sorters, the educators, the people fixing problems in real time, the people helping our communities understand what belongs where. As someone working in Detroit and in communities across Michigan, I've had the privilege of seeing this work up close. I know a few of these folks personally, and what makes them special is not just what they do, it's the energy, the care, the humor, resilience that they bring to their work every day. This panel is important to me because it puts those voices front and center, not as an afterthought, not as support staff, but as leaders and experts in this work. Today you're going to hear stories that are funny, honest, sometimes frustrating, and deeply human. And I hope this conversation reminds all of us that stewardship happens at every level. But the very first step is making sure materials end up in the right place. So with that, I'm going to invite our panelists to introduce themselves in their own word and tell a little bit of their story. So we're going to start with Elliott.
Hi everyone.
Got turned on.
Yeah. Hi everyone, my name is Elliott Alden, and I just this spring graduated from Michigan State University with my bachelor's degree in human biology with a minor in environmental studies and sustainability. I've been working at the MSU Recycling Center for a little over 4 years now. I have always chosen to make the more sustainable choice before working here, but it has totally changed my perspective on managing waste. I always knew where to put my cans and everything like that, but I didn't know anything that happened after that step. I feel like that's common for a lot of people. I started as a student sort line worker, where I sorted plastic, cardboard, and paper. Those are the three main commodities. The smells are crazy. I smelled some very diabolical things. I don't know if you can imagine 7 a.m. Sort line going by and seeing dirty diapers in the cardboard, or a magazine flips open to a page with some pictures that are not something that you want to see that early morning. I then was promoted to student supervisor, where I got a lot of experience training on what we recycle and what we don't recycle. Then I was promoted to student floor lead, which this has a lot of responsibilities, so I'll just say a couple. I operate the baler, so all of our commodities that we sort, we have to compact into a bale so that we can put it on trucks and sell to the people that buy our recyclables. So I operate that. I also operate the skid steer and forklift. With the skid steer, I can pick up the materials and put it on the sort line for the students to sort. And then with the forklift, I can pick up bales, weigh them, put them on the trucks, dump recyclables, move pallets, things like that. One of my main jobs, and kind of my favorite to talk about, is I process food at the recycling center. I know we've talked a lot about food waste today, but we process two streams of food. We have compost and food waste. Compost is raw fruits, vegetables, and coffee grounds, and we process this using a vermicomposting system. So we have around 1 million worms on our site that we feed the compost to, and they eat, digest, and poop it out, and we get to sell the vermicompost at the surplus store. It's really good for your plants. We're not allowed to give the worms really salty foods or meat and dairy products, so we send them up to Hammond Farms in Lansing, Michigan, and that's just another composting facility in Lansing that doesn't use worms, so they can process that. In order to send that there, I have to spray out the bins. So this is probably the dirtiest part of my job. I have to wear a full face mask, and I don't know if you can imagine rolling up like a 300-pound bin to a tipper, and it will tip it to like a 45-degree angle, and I have to stand behind the shield and spray out it with a like 10-foot power washer wand, and it gets everywhere. It gets all over me. They told me that I could wear my outfit that I wear to work, but I didn't want to smell this place up, so it's nasty. In the summer, there's a lot of maggots, so it's really gross. There's maggots flying everywhere. So I'm glad I got to wear a nice outfit today. But yeah, if you had told me in high school that I would be operating heavy machinery and spraying out food waste as a vegetarian, I would be really scared. I would really be groveling. But yeah, I think my main message really is I feel like people don't know enough about what happens behind the scenes, and I think that's a big part of why people don't make the sustainable choices. I'm definitely that like really annoying recycling girl in my classes that talk about the recycling center too much, and people always tell me like, that just ends up in the landfill anyway, and it actually really annoys me, and I have to go on a big rant and show them all the pictures and tell them everything that we do. So yeah, thank you.
So Elliott, can you please share with us what is the most unique item that you've seen someone try to recycle?
I don't know if that's I don't know if that's something I can really say, but I'll have just like adult things. It just, the sort line, it like drops down like 3 feet onto the sort line, so like I'll be sorting cardboard and I'll pick up a piece of cardboard and it'll just fall down in front of me, and I'm like, oh, that's great, like I guess it is plastic, but like, I don't know if I would choose to put that in the bin, but yeah.
Thank you so much. All right. Kat.
Hi everyone. It's really awesome to be here and great to be part of this awesome panel of people doing the work. So my name is Kat Diggs. As a recycling educator and sorter for 5+ years at Recycle Here, Detroit's only public recycling drop-off center, founded in 2007 to mitigate the lack of citywide recycling services. I've often heard from our recyclers the question, does this stuff actually even get recycled? And this is the power of Recycle Here. As a source-separated drop-off site, we don't just receive people's recyclables and sort them for them, we teach people how to sort their materials themselves. And in doing so, develop not only a stronger grasp of what effective recycling entails, but a deeper, more kinetic understanding of the waste that they produce daily. This is not an easy task. It's a lot of stopping people from throwing a bag of plastic candy wrappers or styrofoam peanuts in the hard plastic compactor, or telling them that smelly tuna cans can't be thrown in the metal container without first being cleaned, or sorting endless amounts of dirty tissues out of our paper bins. It's feeling your fingers and toes slowly freezing in the wintertime, no matter how many layers you might be wearing. It's being covered in grime at the end of a summer day. It's going up to people coming up to the center for the first time and helping translate the system to them. Dumping all their mixed materials into a cart and walking around the circle of bins to sort through their materials side by side with them. Papers, metals, plastics, clear glass, colored glass, film plastic, electronics, batteries, juice and milk cartons, giveaways, and the list goes on. Our purpose at Recycle Here is not to sugarcoat the fact that many materials cannot be meaningfully recycled, either because end markets do not exist for them, but mostly because they were not designed to be recycled in the first place. Our team is present to put a human face on the work of waste diversion and to build community around it. Over the years, I have been honored to train hundreds, if not thousands, of Detroiters become effective recyclers. Nothing made my day more than having newcomers become regulars and come to me to thank me for teaching them how to sort their materials and bring the knowledge home to their families. I consider the people I've worked with over the years at Recycle Here to be my chosen family. They are some of the most gifted, versatile, grounded group of people I have ever met. Makers, artists, free thinkers, all joined together in what our communal uncle, Matt Naimi, the founder of Recycle Here, often calls the bottom of the barrel. This is the work that has made me who I am today. I was born and raised in Montreal, Quebec, so not rooted in Detroit, not a born and raised Detroiter. I was raised by human rights advocates who trained and brought my siblings up to be dedicated to social justice work. And through my involvement in Detroit, in Montreal's rich cultural scene, I learned about Detroit's legacy as a musical leader globally and also a leader in grassroots activism. And in moving to the city in 2016, I quickly became immersed in the environmental injustices that Detroiters were faced day to day. Notably with the fact that their waste was being incinerated and the waste of neighboring communities in Canada were being incinerated into the lungs of Detroiters. And so in an effort to support their diversion efforts away from incineration, I started working at Recycle Here in July of 2016. While I learned how effective the recycling process can be when we train people one-on-one on how to sort their materials, I also learned that unfortunately our municipal recycling systems have been set up to greenwash the image of corporations that are responsible for the harm that we are all contending with today. And so with that, I experienced with my team and thousands of other recycling workers across the country the recycling crisis in 2019 when China rightfully banned the imports of scrap recyclables from the global north, and realized at that moment in time that not only were we burning trash into the lungs of low-income and Black and brown communities in Detroit, but we were also exporting our waste to other communities across the country, across the world, in what is known as waste colonialism. So from that moment, I knew that I was going to dedicate my life to waste justice advocacy, and that I wanted to work at a structural level on these issues. And so I've been able to get involved in numerous projects over the years, whether it was help launch the Ann Arbor Circular Economy Initiative through OSI, Office of Sustainability and Innovation, work on reporting efforts with the Global Alliance for Incinerator Alternatives, or even get involved at the Global Plastics Treaty negotiations, which to me is going from sorting plastic bags to being involved at the UN has been nothing short of humbling, but we need that representation in these spaces. We need our sorters at the table talking about these issues. So essentially, I have everything to thank Recycle Here for who I am today and what I've dedicated my life to. And I am dedicated to continuing centering the communities that are at the front line of this crisis and shaping the solutions to our more circular and just futures. Thank you.
Thank you, Kat. So, what's the wildest thing you've ever seen put in the recycling stream?
Oh, yeah, there's so many things. I think for me, it's not so much the wildest thing as it was just, in our team, I'm definitely known as the kind of like the super kind of OCD about sorting. Like everyone kind of makes fun for me about that. I developed that reputation, but like when folks came with big bags of mixed materials and I told them like we need to separate all of this, we need to hold the papers in our arms, we need to go through each bin and we need to sort. People were like, I can't do that. I'm like, no, we got this. We're gonna do this. This is what it takes. This is what's gonna make a clean paper stream. And it would take hours sometimes, but people came back, which told me that they actually had a good experience doing that. But it is humbling because when you don't think about the streams, it's a mess. It's just a mess. And while I really honor, curbside, like mixed materials, we need our sorters on the line. So Recycle Here tries to address that at the front line with the person and not offset that on the worker. So that's kind of the system that we have in place at Recycle Here.
Thank you so much. All right, Brittany.
My name is Brittany Tremayne, and I'm an electronics team lead at PADNOS. So, a few weeks ago, we wrapped up a collection event at Detroit Zoo. 1,699 cars pulled through to drop off electronics. This was all done over 2 3-hour shifts. The weather was brutal, cold, windy, rainy, we all froze. The team was incredible though, pushing through till the very end. And as I was standing there on that Sunday morning, I was watching it all come together, and I just kept thinking about how we got here. 13 years ago, I was a college student with a summer internship. My job that first summer was painting safety poles, guardrails around equipment, and walk paths in the warehouse. Yellow, lots of yellow. Every day I was covered in yellow paint. That next summer, I was not recruited to be an electronics recycler. No one handed me a vision. I was just a college girl who needed some money and saw an opportunity. I wasn't going to school for recycling. There was no such degree, but somewhere in that first summer, something clicked. You see, PADNOS has been in recycling for 120 years. But in 2014, with 2 barrels flipped upside down as a PC dismantle station, I inadvertently helped establish the electronics recycling division. This work meant something. Every device that came through wasn't just scrap. It was an opportunity to take something that someone had discarded and figure out what was the right thing to do with it. I didn't know what we were doing, but neither did anyone else, but I was here for it. There was no playbook. Nobody handed me a manual and said, this is how you recycle electronics. Because honestly, nobody had written it yet. Before we had machinery, we were literally dumping mixed electronics on the floor, sorting with our hands and knees, and pushing out loading docks into Gaylord boxes and shop tubs. That was the process at the time. We were building a plane while we were trying to fly it. And that statement still stands true today. The devices that come through our doors today look much different than they did a decade ago. They are smaller, there's more plastic, and as everybody knows, batteries are in everything. The material changed, the markets changed, the regulations changed, and every time we thought we had it figured out, the technology evolved and we had to evolve with it. That's not a complaint, that's the job, and that's honestly what keeps it interesting, always trying to see the possible. Here's what I've learned though, not knowing what you're doing isn't always a liability. When you don't have assumptions baked in, you build things that work instead of things that just look good. The first commodity manual I wrote with Sam PADNOS, we didn't write it because we were experts. We wrote it because nobody else had, and someone had to. That manual trained people. Those people trained more people. Knowledge in this industry doesn't live in the systems, it lives in the people. And if I had walked away when I was just a temp, none of that would have gotten written down. The opportunity was hiding inside the challenge the whole time. So I ask everyone here today, what's your 2-barrel moment right now? What's the thing in your operation that looks scrappy, uncertain, and half-built? Because I promise you that's not the problem to fix. That's your next 10 years. The challenges shaping our industry today, new materials, new legislation, new consumer behaviors, those are not the roadblocks. They're the building blocks for whoever shows up and says, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm here for it. Are you creating space for that person, even if it's you? I started with a paintbrush and 2 barrels. I had no idea what I was doing. Today I'm coaching the next generation of people who also don't know what they're doing yet. And that's exactly where I want to be. The future of this industry will be shaped by people willing to evolve, find those people, and invest in them. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your story about how creative and innovation is needed to make this industry happen. So, Zalika.
Hello, my name is Zalika and I'm the assistant manager at Recycle Ann Arbor. I've been with the organization for a little over 2 years. I started as a sorter at our zero waste MRF. While at the MRF, I was able to learn various operational skills. This included things like screen cleaning, forklift and baler operation, and scale house procedures. Before I started working at Recycle Ann Arbor, I grew up recycling and unfortunately wish cycling. My mom is the one who taught me the importance of recycling. However, since we didn't really have an understanding of the recycling process or why it is really important to only put materials that are accepted into the bin, we would often put things in hope for the best. It wasn't until I began working at our MRF that I realized how many people do the same things we were doing. It was shocking to see the amount of unaccepted recycling that was dropped off at the MRF. Food waste, diapers, bikes, you name it. As soon as I experienced the negative effects of wish cycling at the MRF and saw how dangerous it can make a sorter's job, I quickly changed my perspective on the role of recycling. There is a human element to waste disposal that many people probably don't realize. People have to physically touch what you throw in the cart, and it directly impacts their safety, the machinery, and the quality of the finished bales. The primary job of sorters on the line is to remove any item that creates a safety hazard for both sorters and the equipment. If people put items like propane tanks, needles, batteries, plastic bags, and other dangerous things in the cart, people will have to handle that. Many people may not know that recycling workers have one of the most dangerous jobs in the country, and that's mainly because of the wrong items that people put in the carts. That's why routine education about the right way to recycle is important. A common hazard is tanglers. These are things like chains, hoses, and long cords. Not only are these things a pain to remove from the machinery, but they can easily get stuck on something and end up pulling you down the line depending on how you grab them. It's a tough, dangerous job, so please only put accepted items into your carts. What's maybe also not understood is that everyone on the sorting line is highly skilled and goes through extensive training. Each station has its own skill set and it takes a while to learn how to perform well. We also work as a team and watch out for each other. While you're sorting, it's very important to keep an eye on the other people on the line. If you aren't careful, you could easily get pulled down the line and end up in a bunker. Wild animals often end up in the facility. One time, a raccoon made its way to the line. It was behind my coworker, so I warned her. She got scared and jumped onto the line. I had to grab her so that she didn't end up in the bunker. Another thing that took me by surprise on my first day was the instant motion sickness from being on the line. My first day was cut short by it. I could only stay up there for a couple of hours. Between the motion sickness and the particular funk that MRFs have, I thought I would have to start looking for a new job. Thankfully, after a week of wearing C-bands and taking Dramamine, the motion sickness went away. Not too much can be done about the smell, but I got pretty good at holding my breath. Again, what you put into your cart directly affects MRF workers. So please, rinse them out. Do not put food in there. All in all, I'm glad I stuck it out. I now manage operations at our drop-off station where I have the opportunity to directly educate customers, and I also work with our downstream vendors to make sure our materials are going to their highest and best use. This is a very important industry that we're doing, and industry that we're in and work that we're doing, and I'm happy to be a part of it. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Shawn Blackwell from Spurt Industries. I am not from Michigan anywhere. This is only the second time I saw somebody put their finger to their head, so I was a little confused. I am a driver. I pick up food waste. Two things that I've learned in this short period of time. First and foremost, I've spent over 20 years with waste management. So it was just garbage. But what I realized the difference between garbage and waste is that garbage goes to a landfill. waste goes to the next destination. And I find that out here in Michigan, y'all have dirt roads, back roads, main highways is like a dirt road. Yeah, so I'm learning from Ann Arbor to downtown Detroit. I love it. This is a place where I didn't expect to be, but life is full circle, and it's a place that if it wasn't for Spurt Industries, I would still feel displaced because I don't have any family or anything. My beautiful wife is here, but Spurt is home. There's nothing like waking up in the morning and being comfortable to go home. So I'm fortunate enough to drive through the cities, the back roads, watching cows and raccoons, and it's strange. I'm not used to it yet. So even early in the morning, when we're in Wixom, I go and I open the gate and I have a flashlight around my neck. So I bang, I throw rocks. I haven't seen nothing yet, but just in case. So I find that this is not just me picking up food waste. I'm learning so much. I don't just want to be out on the road, just picking up food waste and not knowing what's going on. So I'm grateful. I'm truly, truly grateful for Spurt Industries. Amen. I speak very well of it. And last but not least, I don't want to hold you. There was a story of a man and his son, and they were out in the boat, and the little boy fell over the boat, but the father couldn't swim, so the little boy was drowning. So the father threw out a rope, and he says, grab onto the rope and I'll pull you in. And as he was pulling him in, the son yelled back to the father, Father, the rope is breaking. And the father had to think fast, and he had to think beyond where he was. So he told his son, he says, reach beyond the break and I'll pull you in. And as the son reached beyond the break, he was able to pull him in. And coming here to Spurt Industries and coming here today and reading and learning more, I've reached beyond the break. And I'm extending my range, scope, and sphere of thinking to know that with the team of Spurt and my green and all of y'all, that we do it better when we do it together. Thank you.
Hello, thank you. How about that lunch, huh?
Yeah.
One more time for the speakers.
Yeah.
So the question was, what does garbage duty mean to me? My name is Zach, by the way. I am manager to recycle here in Detroit with Kat. My boss calls me captain of the Starship Trash. So what does recycling duty mean to me? When you work in the waste industry long enough, you stop being surprised by the things people throw away, right? My colleagues have told you that we've seen every last disgusting bit of it. It's not fun. So I thought I'd seen it all, right? The longer you're around, working around trash, the more you realize that recycling is just kind of the mechanical part of the process, right? The real heart of the work is really in sustainability in the community. And sustainability is messy. Sustainability is wildly hopeful, but it's also deeply personal. It was here that I learned that if you gaze into the trash long enough, eventually the trash gazes back. And for me, this realization came from a place we at Recycle here affectionately called the junk hole. The junk hole is our esteemed community offering space. Some people might call it our main attraction. It's a no-cost thrift corner where guests can take freely and are encouraged to contribute lovingly. The things they don't need, things they don't want, and especially things they should have never bought in the first place. Most of the time, the junk hole is full of just that, just junk. It's that box of just in case curiosities you keep by the door just because you're afraid you might need them later. It's that lamp with no shade. Who the hell is that for? It's the puzzle with missing pieces. Why would you give that to someone? That's so very mean. It's that toaster with the note on it that says kind of works, which in our line of work translates to mostly doesn't work. It's the Tupperware without a lid, which is not Tupperware. It's a bowl you'd be embarrassed to be seen eating cereal out of. And the Christmas decorations, just endless Christmas decorations. Do you even like Christmas? So I started to resent it a little bit, not in a noble way. More in like, why is this my problem now, right? It felt like less like generosity and more like people outsourcing their guilt to the lowest bidder, which often turned it out to be me. And it was just when I was starting to think that the junk hole had nothing left to surprise me, something truly unusual arrived, something that felt intentional. Like a gift. Like it didn't come from a garage or a basement, but from some parallel dimension where everything is going to be just fine. On that day, the junk hole was visited by a stone-faced angel, a mass-produced garden ornament. I wish I would have brought it with me. It was weathered, kind of ugly, deeply mysterious. We didn't care who brought it, and we didn't really care why, but we recognized the significance instantly. We decided to call it Snart. This is where things get weird, because I don't believe Snart just appeared. I believe Snart manifested. And when an object manifests, you don't treat it like trash. You treat it like a sign. So naturally, we hung it on the wall outside the junk hole and began adorning it with beads and feathers and bottle caps, the same kind of crap materials it provided for us. And after long, Snart wasn't just a decoration anymore. Snart became our patron saint of second chances. And like any good cult, we started developing our own mythos, rituals, offerings, and the sacred incantations Snart provides. It was half a joke, and at the same time, half a prophecy that kept coming true. And here's the thing, almost nobody else noticed. Most visitors walk right past Snart without a second glance. And honestly, that's part of the magic. The myth doesn't need to be understood to be effective. The space changes because we changed. And people feel that shift whether they know it or not. As we treat the junk hole with more attention, more care, more play, more reverence for the ridiculous, people responded. Not because they joined our little cult, and not because we lecture them about sustainability, because the space itself became inviting. People didn't know the myth, but they could feel it. They wanted to contribute. They wanted to believe that their half a pack of Scantron sheets might still serve a greater purpose. And somewhere in all of this, something shifted for me. Up until then, most of my days were spent doing the usual recycling grunt work, sorting the good from the bad, pulling plastic bags out of places plastic bags should not be, and moving material from one bin to the next. But standing there with Snart, the shining gleam of my misspent youth, watching over the junk hole, I realized I wasn't just sorting recycling. I wasn't just moving material. I had been blessed, or maybe even cursed, with the responsibility of curating a living ecosystem. A place where objects, intentions, and people circulate in ways that can move a community to believe in something magical. That was the day the garbage duty stopped being a task and became a ritual. A ritual of trust in community, a ritual of generosity, and a belief that even the most ordinary object might yet have work to do. I'll be the first to admit, SNAR is absolutely ridiculous. The SNAR taught me an undeniable truth, is that sustainability works best when people want to participate. When you contribute to the junk hole, you're not just getting rid of your possessions, you're offering them. You're feeding a cycle that's greater than the sum of its parts, a cycle that's playful, inviting, and ludicrously helpful. By the grace of SNAR, somewhere along the way I stopped seeing myself as just your friendly neighborhood garbage man. I started seeing myself as a steward of that cycle, a keeper of potential, disguised as trash. So what does garbage duty mean to me? It means understanding that even when people think they're throwing something away, they're really revealing what they value, and what they hope someone else might still see as valuable as well. It means remembering that sustainability isn't just about acknowledging what's discarded, but recognizing what's been delivered. And it means knowing that if you gaze long enough into the trash, sometimes the trash gazes back. Sometimes it even has a name. And on the stinkiest of days, that name is SNAR. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all so much, panelists, for sharing your stories. And if anyone has not been to Recycle here, where I have the privilege of working, please come and visit us and visit SNAR. So all of these conversations really remind us that recycling is people-powered work. We have people who are setting up e-waste drop-offs. We have people on the lines and chasing raccoons. We have people who are cleaning out the junk hole, which people literally do bring us junk sometimes. But this work is very important and can't happen without people like all of you. So again, round of applause for our So what gives me hope is that this room is filled with people, all of you who care very deeply about this work and building better systems and stronger communities and a more sustainable future. So thank you all so much for being here. This is your coalition. Thank you for uplifting the work that we do at the MRC. And it sounds like from everything we've learned in the last few days that we're really making some progress. So thank you all for the hard work that you do. And with that, thank you for joining us.
And our conference
And we hope that next year you will join us again at the Eagle Crest in Ypsilanti, April 27th through 29th. And again, let's give each of you all and our panelists another round of applause. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here.